Welcome to the podcast Entrepreneurship Dives, where we dive deep into the research, data, facts, and random thoughts behind and about entrepreneurship.
In today's episode, we will talk about the brand new paper, Fostering an Environment for Social Entrepreneurship, a comparative analysis across economic development levels, by Gabriel Plata, Stephanie Scott, and Sebastian Aparicio, published in Review of Managerial Science. Sebastian, what motivated you and your colleagues?
People might think that social entrepreneurship flourishes best in developed nations with strong support systems. But what if the exact opposite is true in some cases? The research we're looking at today completely challenges that assumption.
That's fascinating, and this study really digs deep into the data, looking at over 124,000 individuals across 59 countries. What surprised you most about your findings?
Well, one of the most counterintuitive findings is how the rule of law affects social enterprises differently across economic stages. In developing economies, it's hugely beneficial, but in more developed nations, it can actually hold social entrepreneurs back.
That really challenges conventional wisdom. How do you explain that difference?
It seems to be about the balance between structure and flexibility. In developing economies, having basic legal protections helps social entrepreneurs operate with confidence. But in developed economies, get this, too many regulations can actually stifle innovation and make it harder to address social needs in creative ways.
And what about government support? I imagine that plays out differently too across these economic stages.
Oh, that's where it gets really interesting. In developing economies, too much government involvement actually discourages social entrepreneurship. It's like, well, imagine trying to help someone who keeps insisting they know better than you what help they need.
That makes me think about how context-dependent these support mechanisms must be. Like, what works in New York might completely backfire in Nairobi.
Exactly. And here's another fascinating piece. We found that business regulations have completely opposite effects depending on the economic stage. In developing economies, efficient business regulation actually has a negative influence, but in both middle-income and developed economies, it's positive.
So what's the one thing that seems to work consistently across all these different contexts?
That's where self-efficacy comes in. That belief in one's ability to succeed. It's literally the only factor that showed a positive relationship with social entrepreneurship across all economic stages. Isn't that remarkable?
Well, that certainly suggests we should be focusing more on building confidence and capability in social entrepreneurs, regardless of where they're operating.
Right. And here's something else that might catch our attention. In developed economies, we found that shared values about helping others, what it is called universalism, actually boost social entrepreneurship. But this same factor doesn't seem to matter much in developing economies.
That's such an interesting distinction. Why do you think that pattern emerges?
Well, in developing economies, social entrepreneurs are often responding to immediate, visible needs right in front of them. You don't need abstract values about helping others when there's a clear problem to solve. But in developed economies, where basic needs are more often met, those universal values become more important as motivators.
That really highlights how we need different approaches for different contexts. What does this mean for organizations trying to support social entrepreneurs?
So, the key takeaway is that we need to be much more nuanced in our approach. In developing economies, focus on strengthening basic legal frameworks while reducing direct government intervention. In developed economies, it's more about creating efficient regulations and nurturing those universal values about social responsibility.
Looking ahead, what do you think this means for the future of social entrepreneurship globally?
I think we're going to see a much more sophisticated approach to supporting social entrepreneurs. Instead of one-size-fits-all solutions, we'll likely see specialized tools and frameworks for different economic stages. And hopefully, this will lead to higher success rates for social enterprises across all types of economies.
That would certainly be a positive development for addressing social challenges globally.
And perhaps most importantly, this research shows us that social entrepreneurship can thrive anywhere. It's just about understanding and working with the local context rather than against it. It's about being smart in how we support these changemakers who are trying to make the world a better place. For sure, a wide audience would benefit from this research, which emphasizes the role of social entrepreneurs in the economy and society. Thanks for listening.